guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my reading stats for November 2019. Anyway, no big deal. Anyway, so I haven't, my last couple months I've been kind of late in putting this out, so this month I was able to, actually I'm going to do this pretty early, so that's pretty cool. I'm getting kind of excited to do all this stuff for the year end stuff, so it's kind of fun to be on track. Be a little early on this for once. So what I'm going to do is go through my stats for November, and then at the end I'll show you my reading journal, or my reading journal. I don't know why that just threw me off, but anyway, and I made a couple. I just want to show you a couple things that's kind of funny in it. Anyway, so we'll just go through. I have my trusty little list. So we'll just go through the questions. So question number one is how many books did I finish? I finished 13 books. 11 of them were physical and 2 of them were audiobooks. So I didn't read any ebooks, but 13 is still a really good number for me. I'm actually pretty pleased with that, considering it was NaNoWriMo and I was writing all month as well. So that was pretty good because that took up some of my reading time. Question number 2 is how many graphic novels or manga did I read? So technically I read 4 new to me things. So I read 1 manga, I read 1 little picture book, I read Good Talk, which was a graphic novel but very literary, and then what was the other thing I had? Oh, and then I had a Archie's Betty and Veronica Vixens, which was really fun, bind up graphic novel. So it was kind of fun. And then I reread 2 of the manga. Was Fruits Baskets, another I read volume 1 and 2 over because I just got 3. So I had read all 3 of those this month. So 4 new to reread. So it was more graphic novel and manga than I normally read, which was kind of cool. Any rereads, the only rereads I had this month were the 2 manga. So really I did not do as much rereading at all. I didn't do any rereading this month except for those 2 mangas. So that was kind of not normal. So I didn't, well, so they kind of count and kind of don't count, you know what I mean? So, any DNFs. So I did not DNF anything I was currently reading. I did actually decide at the end of the month to go through and clear off my Goodreads and clear off the currently reading. So everything that I decided that I was not going to attempt this year anymore, I put 2 books that I DNF for sure. I'm selling those books. I'm done. And then I had 2 books that I put back on my shelf. I started them and I just wasn't in the mood for them. So I put those back. So I didn't DNF anything I started this month. Everything is still in progress. So we'll see if I can get it done in December. But the books that I DNF'd are ones from earlier in the year where they're just lingering, and I'm just not going to I've decided I'm not going to read them, or I'm just not going to read them this year. So that's kind of a weird one, but it's how it worked. So then, sorry, it keeps going off over here. How many of them were on my TBR that I read this month? So I didn't do very good on my TBR. I only had 4 books on my TBR for Nonfiction November. And I only finished 1 of them. I have 2 of them in progress. So technically 3 of them I attempted. So 2 of them I'm still working on, so they'll be hopefully finished in December. We'll see. And then 1 of them I didn't even start. I switched it out with a different book. So I made all the prompts. I just didn't make them for the ones I was going to. So that kind of that's kind of normal for me. So, but as I said, of the 4, I did finish 1. 2 of them are in progress, and then the 4th I just put back on the shelf. So how many of the books that I finished were from my shelves? 8 of them were physically from my shelves, and then 4 of them were physically from the library. 1 of them was an audiobook that I didn't have a physical copy of, so it doesn't count anywhere, so that's why it comes out odd. But 1 of the physical books, I did the audiobook, but I also did the physical. So I had the physical, so it counts. Anyway, so I did get 8 books off my TBR, but 4 more of them come from the library, so that didn't help me so much. And then how many books am I still currently reading that I didn't finish? and it crossed over into the next month. 3 books I have that I was currently reading in November that I did not complete. So these are 3 nonfiction books that I will continue on, which is Brenda Selly's Dome by Ross King. I can never say that guy's name. John Adams by David McCullough, and Horror Stories by Liz Phair. So those are all carrying over. I will attempt to finish them in December. How many books did I buy this month? Okay, so I'm going to show you a graph to show that I haven't shown in a few months, but it kind of shows you how my buying has been all over across the board. I bought 13 books and I got 1 for free. So I got 14 books this month. So still a little higher than I want to be, considering that I only read 8 books off of my TBR. So I'm going to work on that. I'm trying to work on that. But at this point, this is when mid-month I stopped myself from buying any more books, which was really hard. And I'd already collected the 13, or I had 12 of them, and then the pre-order came through later in the month, and then my dad had a book that I got for free. So it's still 14. Too bad. I'm working on it. How many books did I read that were on my of these 14? 2 of them were books I had read. So 12 of them. Well, I mean, 1 book I read during the month, which was Fruits Basket, another, and then I bought a copy of Murakami's What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. I think that's how it goes. I always say that wrong, but that one. Those 2 don't count because what I read and what I read last year. So I was just getting my own copy of it. So that puts 12 on my TBR. So see, that's why I'm like, I only took off 8 and I added 12. So I'm going to work on that. That's like one of my things for next year, I think, is going to be watching that a little bit better. So how many pages did I read? I read 3,169 pages, which comes out to an average of 105.6 pages a day. So that is good for me. My minimum goal is I want to hit 50 pages a day on average for any month. So anytime I'm over 50, I'm good. It makes me feel good. It may seem like a small number to other people, but to me, to get over 50 a day is, on average, is my goal. And so anytime I get over 100, I'm always excited. And I mean, yes, it would be great to get more than that, but my reading fluctuates just like a lot of like my writing and things like that. So it's just, that's how it works. So it's still a good number. 105 is really good. My star ratings this month were kind of, well, I mean, again, it's pretty much average for me. I had 3 5-star reads, which was a little higher than most months. But I had 7 4-star reads. So that's pretty normal for me, because I usually give a lot of things 4 stars because I like it. That's usually for me. I really like it a lot, and I would reread it again. And then I have 3 3-stars. So that's a little bit more 3 stars than normal. And I didn't have any 2 or 1 stars. As I said, I didn't have anything really bad this month. So I'm glad. I just had some kind of meh books. But anyway, that were the 3s. So what I have for genres is I had 1 true crime. I had 5 what I'm calling general nonfiction. So they were all different kinds of fiction. I kind of included in that nature. I don't have a special category for science yet, so maybe I'll have to change that next year. But I put that in general, as well as some things on writing. And then I had 6 memoirs, which is super high for me. I usually do not read many memoirs, but for some reason I picked up a lot this month. I was trying to see if I could get more into them, and I'm finding there's certain times when I like memoirs and other times when I don't. And it really comes down to, if there's something driving the memoir, I don't really want a life story memoir. I want an event or their occupation, their job, or something something that happened that makes the memoir, like is the solid or the center of it. And then they can tell stories about their other parts of their lives as well. But I don't know, I just need something more central. And the ones that were not to me were not as, I didn't like quite as well. But anyway, and then I read 1 modern classic at the last end of the month. for Gone with the Book, and I'm glad I got at least one book for that read-a-thon. Anyway, so my favorite book of the month was Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. This was fantastic. I am so glad I read this, and I'm sorry it took, a couple of years for me to actually get to it. I think I was really kind of just nervous about it, like a lot of people would be about reading about something about death. But again, the last couple of years has been kind of hard on people I know and for friends and stuff, and then of course family. And so I felt like I just can't keep putting this off. I need to read it, and I am so glad I did. It brought up a lot of questions in my mind, and again, I do have a 96-year-old grandmother who is in an assisted living, and it's good to have these questions in my head, knowing what my mom and my uncle have gone through, and my other aunt has gone through with my grandparents as they've gone through the transition. Of course, I lost my grandfather this last year, so it again really affected me in some of the things that we're not thinking about. Like, we're trying to put it off and not think about those decisions and those questions. And I think this was really good about asking those and to remind you why we need to be a little bit more open about, things that could go wrong and what could happen and stuff. And I thought it was really well done. Again, it's about end-of-life medicine, either from, like something unexpected to just end of life, like as in you're getting really old. So I really thought this was worth it. I really want to pick up some more by him just to see what his other stuff is like. But really, this was the best book I read. I mean, again, I had a couple of 5-star reads, but that was the one that really hit me the hardest. And then the book that I would put at the bottom, which again, I did not DNF any books that I started this month, but the book that I found the least that I liked was Bleaker House by Nell Stevens. This is Chasing My Novel to the End of the World. This is when she goes to the Falklands for 3 months to write a novel, and she wants to be alone because she thinks that is going to help her creativity and to make her write. And of course, that's not, as much as writers need to be alone to do certain things, it's also bad for them to be by themselves too much. Anyway, so I didn't like this book as much as I thought I was going to, because it's called Bleaker House, and she's on Bleaker Island in the Falklands. And I thought there'd be more of a connection to Bleak House, and it was really just her. I mean, I think it was still really well done in telling her story of when she goes to Bleaker Island and what novel she starts and then what she changes it to later, which I think was great for the writing process. I loved hearing about that and about how she dealt with stuff on the island. But there was parts of this where she threw in some of her other stories that she'd written during grad school, which I hated. I hated all those short stories that were in there. I think there was 3 of them, and I hated them all. Like, I just detested them. And again, I don't think it's just because I don't like short stories. I really think they were just subject matters I didn't care about and I didn't like. And I just was like, I mean, they weren't written badly, like as in bad, her sentence structure and that, like, I mean, and description and all that stuff, that was all good. It was just, I didn't like any of the stories. And so I hated it pretty much overall in those parts, but I liked the overall story about her trip to the Falklands and then what happened with her novel and how this became that novel and how this all went around. And so again, I gave it a 3, barely, like it was on the edge, but I didn't drop it to a 2 because it was so good in the other parts. But I was so disappointed because I was looking more for a connection to Bleak House. And do not read this if you have not read Bleak House, because she spoils a few of the things in Bleak House that I would not have known if I had not just read it, or, I mean, I'd read it in the past. So I just read it, so luckily I thought it was okay to read this, which I'm glad that I waited until I read that. Anyway, so that's, okay, that's my little rant again. Again about that novel. So obviously that one still bothers me. So anyway, so I'm just going to show you my reading vlog. So here, log that I have in my bullet journal. So this is November. You can see I didn't read quite as much per day, but I read consistently. The only day I didn't read was on Thanksgiving because I was with family and there just wasn't time. They didn't let me. Anyway, but So it's like I pretty much, and as I said, my writing was pretty much the same. It was up and down like that too. So there were, when I probably read more is part of the days I had less writing. But I did get a lot done with considering. And it's a good, solid reading. I didn't, you know, there's not too many days that were too small. So for my pixels, you can see that a lot of it's greens and yellow, which is where I want to be, which is the 50 to 150 a day. So there is a lot of them. There's only a few that were a little lighter blue that was over 150. And then I only had one dark blue, so I only got over 200 pages one day. I got to 200 pages one day, but not only one went over 200. So I didn't have any purple days. And there's only one red day because that's the 0. So I read pretty consistently considering. And then I just wanted to really quickly show, this is my graph for how many books I bought. So see how good I did like 1 month, and then I sucked. And then I tried again, and then I sucked. And then this one's off the chart. Because this is last month where I had like 64 books I brought in. And then this is this month, so not too bad. So I don't know what this last one's going to be. Hopefully not too bad. Well, we will see. So that's my stats. Sorry I ranted a little bit and went off, but I hope you enjoyed that. And again, if there's any questions about, or anything that you think I should be tracking, I will be doing my end of year stats. I'll probably do again a December one, and then I'll do a whole the rest of the year because I did do a mid-year one. But I'll do it all again for that. And I think at one point I will do a spread or showing my spreadsheet maybe when I start it up for the next year, just to kind of show you guys what I do, because my spreadsheets are not like the complicated ones that some of the other people put out. Mine are just very, there's quite a few of them, but they're all kind of random, or they're very simple. And I guess I want to show that you don't have to have super duper Excel skills to get your data. So I guess I will show that. I do need to figure out how to do those graphs again. It's been a while. I want to figure that out. Anyway, so I rambled on enough. So hope your reading in November was good. Mine was, and I enjoyed it. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.